Welcome, Class 9 Chemistry enthusiasts. Today, we are diving into the fascinating world of atoms and molecules and exploring a fundamental principle, the law of constant proportions, formulated by Proust in 1799. This law helps us understand the fixed recipes of chemical compounds. We'll start with easy concepts, move to medium explanations, tackle hard analytical challenges, and finally explore the hardest, most intricate details. Get ready for an exciting journey. Let's begin our journey with the basics. What does fixed ratio by mass really mean for the things around us? The law of constant proportions, sometimes called Proust's law, tells us something really important about chemical compounds. It states that any specific compound, no matter where it comes from or how it's made, will always have its elements combined in the exact same mass ratio. Think of it like a secret recipe that never changes. For instance, if you're making a cake, the ratio of flour to sugar is always fixed for that particular cake. Similarly, in chemistry, water, whether from a tap or a lab, always has hydrogen and oxygen in a specific mass ratio. Let's take water, HO, as our example. If you combine hydrogen and oxygen to make water, you'll always find that 1 gram of hydrogen reacts with exactly 8 grams of oxygen to form 9 grams of water. This 1:8 mass ratio of hydrogen to oxygen is constant. It doesn't matter if the water is from a pristine mountain spring or created in a laboratory, the ratio remains the same. This fixed ratio by mass is a defining characteristic of compounds, helping us understand their unique and consistent compositions. Time to test your understanding. Here are 3 practice questions to solidify your grasp of the basic concepts of the law of constant proportions. Take a moment to think about them and apply what we've just learned. Now, let's deepen our understanding of this crucial law, exploring its origins and broader implications. The law of constant proportions was formulated by the French chemist Joseph-Louis Proust in 1799. Proust dedicated years to meticulous experiments, carefully analyzing the composition of various chemical compounds. His rigorous work involved precise measurements, which were quite advanced for his time. His dedication to quantitative analysis laid the foundation for this fundamental law, emphasizing that compounds have a definite and unchanging composition. Proust's key discovery came from comparing natural and synthetic samples of the same compound. For example, he meticulously studied copper carbonate. He found that whether he analyzed copper carbonate found in nature or synthesized it in his laboratory, its elemental composition was always consistent. It always contained the same percentage by mass of copper, carbon, and oxygen. This consistent observation, across different sources and preparations, was the compelling evidence that led him to propose his groundbreaking law. The significance of Proust's law cannot be overstated. It provides a clear distinction between compounds and mixtures. In a mixture, components can be combined in any ratio, like sugar dissolved in water. But in a compound, the elements are always present in a fixed mass ratio. This consistency is a hallmark of chemical compounds and was a vital step towards understanding the atomic nature of matter, setting the stage for Dalton's atomic theory. Ready for some more challenging questions? These 5 problems will help you apply the law of constant proportions to various scenarios and deepen your understanding of its practical implications. Pause and work through them carefully. Let's elevate our understanding further, exploring the law's connections to other principles and its theoretical significance. It's important to distinguish the law of constant proportions from the law of conservation of mass. While both are fundamental, they address different aspects. Lavoisier's law of conservation of mass states that mass is neither created nor destroyed in a chemical reaction. Proust's law, however, focuses on the composition of the resulting compound, asserting that elements combine in fixed mass ratios to form a specific compound. One deals with the total mass in a reaction, the other with the internal elemental makeup of the product. Proust's law provided indispensable support for John Dalton's atomic theory, which emerged a few years later in 1808. Dalton's postulates, particularly that atoms of an element have a definite mass and combine in simple whole number ratios to form compounds, directly explain why the law of constant proportions holds true. If atoms combine in fixed, simple ratios, and each atom has a specific mass, then naturally, the overall mass ratio of elements in a compound must also be fixed. Thus, Proust's experimental observations served as a vital empirical foundation, transforming Dalton's theoretical ideas about atoms into a scientifically accepted framework for understanding chemical reactions and composition. It's crucial not to confuse the law of constant proportions with another important geometry, which is the Quant's law of multiple proportions. Proust's law, the law of constant proportions, applies to a single specific compound stating that its elements always combine in one fixed mass ratio. For instance, water is always HO with a 1:8 HO mass ratio. In contrast, the law of multiple proportions comes into play when two elements can form more than one compound star. A classic example is carbon and oxygen forming both carbon monoxide, CO, and carbon dioxide, CO. This law states that if you fix the mass of one element, the masses of the other element that combine with it will be in simple whole number ratios. They are related, but distinct laws, each revealing a different aspect of chemical combination. Now, it's time for some more complex problems. These 7 questions will challenge your analytical skills and deepen your conceptual understanding of the law of constant proportions, including its relation to other laws and its implications. Take your time to think critically. Hydrogen peroxide 116. Which law explains this difference? Fourth, if an iron-sulfur compound has a 7:4 Fe-S ratio, how much sulfur is needed for 28 G of iron? Fifth, what if the law of constant proportions failed for common salt? Sixth, why was using pure compounds critical for Proust? And finally, if one magnesium oxide sample is 60% magnesium, what's oxygen's percentage in another sample? Good luck! For the true chemistry enthusiasts, welcome to the hardest level. Here, we'll delve into the most intricate details, historical debates, and modern applications of Proust's profound law. Prepare for a deep dive. The Berthollet-Proust controversy wasn't just a minor scientific disagreement, it represented a fundamental struggle for the soul of chemistry, pushing it from qualitative observations towards rigorous quantitative science. Berthollet, a respected chemist, argued for variable composition, influenced by his studies on solutions, alloys, and reactions where equilibrium effects were significant. He believed composition could depend on reaction conditions. Proust, however, painstakingly demonstrated, through meticulous gravimetric analysis of carefully purified compounds like copper carbonates and sulfides, that definite chemical compounds always possessed an invariant elemental composition. His empirical evidence, published in 1799, decisively tipped the scales, establishing the fixed nature of chemical compounds. Proust's experimental methodology was groundbreaking for its time. He meticulously synthesized compounds, ensured their purity, and then decomposed them to precisely measure the mass of each constituent element. This gravimetric analysis provided irrefutable quantitative evidence. Today, while the principle remains, our verification methods are far more advanced. Techniques like mass spectrometry can determine elemental ratios with incredible accuracy, even detecting minor isotopic variations that Proust couldn't. These modern tools confirm the exceptional precision of Proust's original observations. The quest for such precision is not just academic, it's crucial in fields like metrology and the development of certified reference materials, where exact composition is paramount for scientific and industrial standards. While Proust's law is a bedrock principle for stoichiometric compounds, also known as Daltonides, advanced chemistry recognizes a class of non-stoichiometric compounds, or Berthollides, which represent an important exception. These compounds exhibit compositions that deviate slightly from the ideal whole number ratios predicted by simple chemical formulas. This deviation isn't random, it typically arises from crystal lattice defects, such as missing atoms, vacancies, or extra atoms occupying interstitial positions within the crystal structure. Examples include certain metal oxides like wustite, FeO, where X can vary, or titanium oxide, TiO. Understanding Berthollides is critical in fields like materials science, where these subtle compositional variations can dramatically alter properties such as electrical conductivity, catalytic activity, or magnetic behavior, making them vital for developing advanced functional materials. The legacy of Proust's law extends far beyond its historical context. It was the essential empirical precursor to Dalton's atomic theory, providing the observational proof that atoms combine in fixed ways. This law forms the very foundation of stoichiometry, enabling chemists to predict and quantify chemical reactions with incredible accuracy. In industry, it's indispensable for quality control, ensuring that pharmaceuticals, alloys, and other manufactured chemicals consistently have the correct composition and properties. For material scientists, understanding and controlling elemental ratios is key to designing new materials with specific functionalities, from semiconductors to advanced ceramics. Furthermore, it underpins all analytical chemistry, allowing us to determine the precise composition of unknown substances. Proust's simple yet profound observation continues to shape scientific and technological advancements today. All right, for our hardest level, let's tackle these challenging questions. First, dive into the Berthollet-Proust debate. What were Berthollet's arguments, and how did Proust refute them? Second, how might isotopes theoretically cause slight deviations from the law of constant proportions, and why do we usually ignore this? Third, if pure water is 88.8% oxygen, but new water from another planet is 90% oxygen, what does Proust's law tell us about this new water? Fourth, explain how carbon monoxide and carbon dioxide illustrate both the law of constant and multiple proportions. And fifth, using the provided experimental data for copper oxide formation and decomposition, demonstrate how these results verify Proust's law. Take your time, these require thoughtful answers. Continuing with our toughest questions. Sixth, what are Berthollides? Give an example, explain why they seem to deviate from Proust's law, and why they're still considered compounds, not mixtures. Seventh, how does the law of constant proportions impact the industrial synthesis and quality control of a pharmaceutical drug, particularly in terms of quality control and ensuring product efficacy? Eighth, if a compound XY has an X to Y mass ratio of 7:3, calculate the percentage by mass of element X. Ninth, why was accepting Proust's law crucial for developing the concept of a chemical formula? And finally, differentiate between stoichiometric and non-stoichiometric compounds, providing a real-world application where this distinction is important. These questions truly test your comprehensive understanding. And that brings us to the end of our deep dive into Proust's law of constant proportions. We've journeyed from basic definitions to its historical significance, modern applications, and even its fascinating exceptions. We hope this multi-level approach has solidified your understanding of why chemical compounds are so consistently composed. To explore more such engaging and in-depth educational content, make sure to visit synapse.omaps.in. Don't forget to like this video, share it with your friends, and subscribe to our channel for more amazing chemistry lessons and to stay ahead in your studies. Keep exploring, keep questioning, and keep learning. See you in the next lesson.